It's the best way to really get mindful and to be present, because we could take a regular hot shower, we could do something else, and all of a sudden, I remember some of my hot showers just, I had a lot of thoughts. I was overthinking, I had anxious things, and it was because I wasn't really forced to be present in that moment.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. My name is Karolina and I am your host, and also I'm the connection catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the universe. Today on the show, we have Vanessa, a cold therapy guide, an intuitive life coach, and a holistic healer. Welcome to the show, Vanessa. How are you doing?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm just excited for the conversation. So I'm thrilled.
Oh, Oh my God, me too, especially about this cold therapy thing. Because, like, if you ask my friends, I am one of these people that, like, 30 degrees is the best for me. I just want to live in the hot countries. I pretty much never want to feel cold. I even escape winter right now. I'm in Poland and it's winter, and in a few days, I'm escaping to Madeira, to this Portuguese island, because I'm like, fuck this shit. I'm not going to be in winter. I don't like cold, and I'm really resistant to it. Therefore, I would love to start our chat with the cold therapy, because I am the one that actually needs to be convinced, okay? Like, I really resist this whole idea, and I know Wim Hof, and I know that it's great, and I know that people talk about it, but I would love to know what kind of benefits you see in cold therapy. If you had to convince me, like, hey, Caro, it is amazing, do this stuff, what would you say to convince someone who is like on the other spectrum, like, I never want to feel cold?
Yeah, I know. And I was there actually. Believe it or not, my first time in cold water, I did an ice bath at a friend's house and I only lasted 9 seconds. I got in and I got out right away because I just freaked out, right? Like all of the sensations, the gasping, everything happened. And, me too. I just don't, well, previously before my practice, I just did not like the cold. I always had the heat cranked up. I just would not touch cold water. I still don't even drink cold water, believe it. I just don't do ice in my drinks. But I think for anyone, if I had to convince someone, it's so challenging because we all come from different places, right? And different things are going to appeal to us. But I will say, and I say this with like 100% confidence, that it will change your life. And I know it's a broad statement because there's so many different benefits. So there's physical benefits, there's mental benefits, there's spiritual benefits. And I'm gonna like dive deep, or I think I already am diving deep into more like bringing that to light, because a lot of people like Wim Hof and all these great experts who paved the way talk about it from a health perspective and a physical perspective. But for me personally, my mental health, reducing depression, reducing anxiety, and from a spiritual perspective, deepening my meditation practice, my yoga practice, my Kundalini practice, everything. Siphoning out energies, getting rid of stagnant energy, moving that through. I actually even use it for trauma and childhood trauma on myself. So there's so many benefits. And so that's why I just say with confidence that it will change your life, because whoever decides, whether it's you or someone else, whenever they decide to try it out, and I recommend 10 days. Don't just try it one day and then quit. We'll get into that a little bit later, I think. But try it out for 10 days and you'll find what you get from the practice, because everyone gets something different. Some people do it for pain relief. Some people are healing themselves through chronic illnesses like Lyme disease or autoimmune issues or high blood pressure, or so many different, chronic things that can really alter the quality of their life. And then when they include this practice into their life, in addition to what other treatments they're doing, can really just move them forward in their healing journey. And then for mental health, it's huge. I mean, it boosts your dopamine, right? And I know a lot of people struggle with this, and I self-medicated for years and I didn't really own the fact that I was dealing with depression. So there was kind of like that lack of awareness too. But I was self-medicating with like, so much caffeine, trying to get myself up and going, up and out. So many benefits, but hopefully that's just like, it will change your life, because you'll find what it does for you. It might be the mood boost, it might be the energy. Some people, believe it or not, use it to get better sleep. I did an ice bath last night just because I do them periodically at nighttime. I love to do them in the morning. But there's times at night where I'm just like, okay, I think this is gonna be useful for me because it can put you into a relaxed state. Now there's a formula, but just I think that's just a good place to start putting it all out there.
Wow, yeah. I mean, I can relate to some of the things that you said because although I'm a very resistant person to cold water, I had a few times in my life when I actually tried it. Once I was on this Erasmus student exchange like many years ago, maybe like 7 or 8 years ago, where they said, okay, go to sauna and then go to the lake, and you need to do it at least 3 times to get the benefits. But for me, the lake, the cold, frozen lake was just like 3 seconds and I'm out and I'm off to sauna. And I did it three
Yeah,
times and it felt good, but I was just like, yeah, sure, I did it, but now for some time I'm just done with this. But I had this beautiful opportunity to live at the lake last winter, so a year ago, and we literally had like 10 meters, and it was winter in Poland, so we had 10 meters to the lake, and my friends were like, yeah, let's go, let's do this. And I'm like, oh my God, why are we doing this? Because they watched some kind of Wim Hof documentary the day before and they were like, yeah, Carola, come with us, we're doing this. And when I did it, actually, when I went to this lake, and I lasted maybe 10 seconds for the first time, and maybe I went up to 30 a few times, but when I did it, even the feeling that I did it and I managed to do it gave me so much like confidence and power. And I just felt so just empowered within myself that like, yeah, I did something completely outside of my comfort zone and I lasted 10 seconds and I did it and now it's done and now I can feel so good about myself that I even tried it. And especially for a person like me who hates cold, is that maybe I dislike cold, let's not hate anything. And it's even for this kind of person like me, it's like, okay, at least I did 10 seconds and it's already an achievement. It's already like your self esteem is boosted because, as you said, it probably gives you dopamine or other hormones. But even 10 seconds can change a lot in your physiology and in your mind, I found. And then I felt so present. Even after a few seconds, I felt so present because it kind of gets you into your body. It kind of, you need to, your body needs to sustain itself and focus on itself. So then you don't have any thoughts. You don't have any, I don't know, distracting things in your mind because you have to be here and now because it's so freaking cold, right? So yeah,
yes, and
I
that's
can relate to that.
you hit it on the head right there. Yeah. It's the best way to really get mindful and to be present because we could take a regular hot shower, we could do something else, and all of a sudden, I remember some of my hot showers just, I had a lot of thoughts. I was overthinking, I had anxious things, and it was because I wasn't really forced to be present in that moment. With the cold water, the secret sauce here is to breathe. It's all about your breath. And so, unfortunately, some people who have, challenging experiences with the cold water, and they're like, I'm not never doing that again. I'm always like, well, how are you breathing? They're like, well, I wasn't, and they're like, I was hyperventilating, or I stopped, or I froze up, or they clinch, and they're like, doing all of that stuff. But if you could really tap into your breath, use your breath as a tool. It's all about the breath. Wim Hof will say this a million times. In fact, of course, he promotes the Wim Hof breathing method before you do like an ice bath or something really, really cold. I just recommend deep breathing, and there's plenty of other breath works that you could do, like box breathing. But something as simple as taking 6 really, really slow inhales and exhales before you hop into your cold shower will, one, it'll remind yourself to tap into your breath when you need it, and you're going to need it the whole time while you're in there. And two, you'll be able to focus your awareness on your breathing. So taking a really slow, as slow as you can, the slowest inhale and the slowest exhale. So it might look something like this. And even slower than that. I'm doing it a little
Wow,
fast for
that
now,
was
but
really slow.
but yeah, if you can And that's the kind of breath you want to have while you're in the water, because that's what's going to really center you and just make you so present. If you know anything about meditation, which I'm sure you do meditate, in your daily practice, it's the breath that anchors us. And same thing in the shower. And your intercostal muscles are actually the main function in warming your body up when you're in a cold water, when you're in the river, the ocean, the ice bath. Your intercostal muscles you can't see my hands, I'm pointing at the bottom of my lungs. That's where you could also generate a lot of heat, and you're also building up your brown fat tissue as well. But your intercostal muscles, you're breathing with those, and those are the same organs in your body that's going to warm you up. So the deeper you could breathe, the more present you could be with your breath, the more there's no other better way to say it. You're just present, and you use that breath to anchor you through the moment. And in fact, your exhale, when people are really finding a lot more challenge with the cold water, I tell them to even make their exhale even slower, and just as slow as possible. And the secret to doing that is putting your teeth together like a fake smile, like when you go to the dentist and you're like, cheese. And you breathe through your teeth, because that's going to slow your exhale down. And there's something about, we're moving emotions. And so, there's a lot of emotions when you're in that cold water. There's fear, you're uncomfortable. You're like, why am I doing this? Why did I listen to Vanessa? Why
Yep.
am I listening to Wim Hof? You're like, what is going on? There's a lot of thoughts and anxiousness. And then for many people, trauma can come up as well. And for me too, I was a control freak. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not in control in this moment. This is the most uncomfortable thing ever. So you're moving emotion, and the more you could move that emotion with your breath, the better. And so using that exhale to exhale whatever, the water hits you, you're like, and then exhale whatever you're feeling, the fear, you're uncomfortable, you're scared, you're wondering if you're going to get sick after this. Exhale it with that breath. Use your teeth to breathe through. So it might look and sound something like this. I'm just putting my mouth together in like a fake smile, like cheese, and then I'm going to do an exhale. And you can make that go as long. That's the way to like exhale as long as you can, and just exhale all of the fear, all of the frustration, all of the irritation, any emotion that you could think of, and you're like, this is just uncomfortable. Just exhale it out, and then next thing you know, you're just going to be in this rhythm of breathing and breathing and breathing, inhaling and exhaling as you're in that cold water, and it gets you present. And so you're present in the cold shower. And also the way I was able to deepen my spirituality and step into my power as a healer and an intuitive life coach and everything else. And I'm merging spirituality with real estate these days as well. The reason I was able to do that is because I was able to deepen my practice by meditating after my cold shower or after an ice bath, because a lot of the anxiousness and the busyness and the racing thoughts, they were just gone. It's energy, everything is energy. I was able to release that energy with the cold water. And there's something that happens too with your physical body is your blood vessels contract, they tighten up. And I like to think of this as like you're like an iPhone. Like, when you power off your iPhone, you turn it back on, you're powering your whole body off. I mean, you're not dying or anything, but you're powering your body off when you're in the cold water, because everything stops, right? Your body goes into, the whole process is a hermetic stress process, which is good stress. We want more good stress in our lives and less oxidative stress, less of the negative stress. And the good stress helps us prepare for all the other things in life. And your blood vessels contract and everything just tightens up, and you literally go through a reset. That's what allows you to release energies that are no longer serving you, emotions, thoughts, behaviors, whatever it is. And yes, you're gaining your self-confidence, and you're believing in yourself, and you're trusting yourself, because it's just you. It's just you in that cold water. I mean, you might have a coach if you do like a Wim Hof workshop, which I highly advise for someone who wants to take this a step deeper. You might have someone coaching you, right outside of the ice tub. But if you're in the shower, it's just you and your breath. And so you're learning how to trust yourself. And again, your blood vessels contract. And then when you, and that's great, because also it pushes all the blood to the important organs like your heart. in your lungs, and like it resets those and gets all of the oxygen and nutrients to places where you just may not be getting it, regularly or in an optimal way. So it boosts your circulation, gets the oxygen where it needs to go most, gets your nutrients where it needs to go most, puts you through that reset. And when you get out of the shower, out of the ice tub, you're like this iPhone being, turned back on, the little Apple sign comes on. That's when you're kind of like, you might be shivering a little bit and your eyes are like, wide open. Sometimes their skin is red, not because it's irritated, but because it's alive. It actually got fleshed out and recharged. Your whole system just gets rebooted and you're kind of like rebooting. You're like the little Apple symbol coming back on the phone, like, okay, I'm okay. I'm a little cold. I just did it. And you're kind of coming back online. And then eventually, after you get that upgrade, so to speak, in quotations, that new iOS update, which is the cold therapy in this situation, you're just like, wow, that was amazing. You'll feel the difference. Whatever you need most, cold therapy will give it to you. Now, there's some disclaimers. It's not going to be for everyone, right? So if someone has like serious heart conditions, although we've had someone, because I taught a live master class all of last year on Clubhouse with, if you know anything about Clubhouse, that's like the place for master classes and group conversations and guiding people in a group setting through things. And so we had someone who actually had several heart surgeries, but she talked to her doctor first, so that's a whole nother thing, but she was able to do it. So chances are, if you're willing, if you know what your intentions are and what you want out of the practice, or maybe you don't know in the beginning, that's okay. Again, try the cold showers, try it for at least 10 days, and that's a Wim Hof recommendation. He says try it for at least 10 days. You could start off slow. There's so many different baby steps someone can take, starting off with a 15-second cold shower, and then and actually doing that 15-second cold shower after their hot shower. So they would take their normal hot shower or warm shower, whatever it is, their normal routine, wash up, soap up, and then at the end, do 15 seconds of cold. Remember to breathe slowly. The goal is to get calm. And that's something I didn't know when I first started this practice. I had no idea. I did it all wrong. I was hyperventilating in there. I forced myself. I didn't even think to look online to find any information. I was dealing with stress. And so I was, close to a panic attack. So I was like, well, I either have a panic attack outside the shower because I'm so stressed out in my daily life, or I'll have one inside the shower. And I didn't have one inside the shower. It actually calmed me down. That's how stressed out I was. If a cold shower can calm you down, that's how you know you're a little up there with your stress level. But 15 seconds, and then you could build on top of that. So then you could come back and do it every day, come back and eventually do 30 seconds, 40 seconds, and work your way up. Optimal time is 2 minutes, but that also depends on how cold your cold shower is. And so I know a lot of places have cold climates. We're still in winter at the end of January or February. Yeah, we're still in January. So it just depends, and you don't even have to turn your shower all the way to cold. In the first few days, just give yourself some grace. Just focus on being calm in a cold and with some discomfort. So as long as you can move your shower dial to a temperature that's going to be uncomfortable for you, which is going to be probably a little past lukewarm. It won't be all the way to cold. You'll find some discomfort somewhere around there. And just practice breathing through that, taking those long inhales and long exhales. Even try to exhale through the teeth if you need to. And then humming is another way to help you kind of get through the process. So yeah, there's so many ways to do that, and then you could build up to the 2 minutes. But yeah, at least 10 days is what I recommend. Or Wim Hof recommends that, and I think that's great because we saw a lot of progress for the people who were able to stick with it 10 days. And what starts to happen, this is so crazy, is after the 10 days, you get past the initial shock and the initial stress, because there could be some stress around this, right? Like, oh my God, am I going to get sick? Or, just the thought of it being uncomfortable can take people back to their uncomfortable traumas, actually. So it kind of brings
Yep.
up some of the uncomfortable moments and the traumas because it reminds you, like, oh my God, the last time I was uncomfortable, this thing happened. But you kind of get past that and you get a little bit more comfortable. You start to trust yourself. You know that your body can handle it. and you know that your body knows what to do as long as you give it the tool that it needs. And that tool is the breath, right? So your part is just to breathe. If you can breathe, you can get through it. And then what I was going to say is the crazy part, and people, didn't believe me for a while until they started to reach these milestones in our live masterclass that we had all last year in 2021, is you actually start to crave the cold shower. You like eventually within a couple of weeks, if you're consistent, you wake up and you're like, oh my God, it's time for my cold shower. And you get in there, and there still might be like a couple seconds of hesitation. I like to use Mel Robbins, her countdown thing, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you just kind of go in there. Or if you're already in the shower, you're in your warm part. Some people kind of hesitate with turning the dial. They're like, I don't know if I want to turn that dial today. And I'm like, just count down from 5 to 1, and they do it, and then they just and there's really technical ways. So that's why I wanted to be the cold therapy guide to help people with some of the really technical, and I say technical, but they're really just detailed methods, how to breathe, like where to start with your cold shower. Do you just throw yourself in there? Do you have the water on your feet? So there's all of those details I provide people, and it changes too, because it all depends on what someone's intention is. Someone who's doing this for like a fitness perspective, they're working out and they're losing weight and they're doing all this other stuff. That's going to be a different recommendation from someone who's really dealing with stress and depression and, just some cognitive and mood imbalances there. So, yeah, I'll pause and see if you have any questions on any of that, but that's the gist of it. So just to wrap up my last point, I want to make sure I tie the bow on that, is like, yeah, just starting off slow and working your way up and getting past the 10 days. Because then you can determine, if it's something that you really do want to incorporate in your life. And by that time, you'll know what it truly helped you with. Like I said earlier, it's like the magic pill for everything. But not all of us are dealing with everything. We might just have 1 or 2 intentions to focus on. So there's that.
Wow, yeah, I have many, many questions after what you just said, and I love your explanation because it gives me also a better understanding. And I'm a little bit more convinced right now, but still not quite, but a little bit more for sure to try it on. And so, my first question is: so you start from 15 seconds, but you build up in this, for example, 10-day process. Do you build it up every day a little bit more, or is it like 15 seconds for 10 days and then you build it up?
Yeah, you build it up every day, but every day could be an extra 5 seconds. If you have the ability to tell Siri to turn on your timer while you're in there, because I think sometimes people are like, well, how do I time myself? Counting can help, because one, if you don't have a timer and you're not doing all that stuff, it just helps your mind focus on something, especially in the beginning. So just counting to 15 is going to be easy, right? But if you start to graduate to a minute, you might want to have some kind of timer. But yeah, every day just add on a few seconds. And typically people find that their goal might have been 30 seconds, but they just ended up doing 40 anyway, like just automatically, because they got into that habit of breathing and they just rode the wave, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So another question is, when you do this, do you set an intention beforehand? Because, for example, you know that you're dealing with stress, or you know that you have something to work through. So can it be intentional? Can it be almost like a meditation where okay, or like yoga for me, for example, when I have an emotion inside and I know that I want to deal with it, before yoga, I set an intention for this emotion to be released, and it is. And so could it be used in the same way?
Yes, absolutely. It's great that way, and sometimes your intention can just be as simple as, I want to be present, right? And just having that, like just saying it out loud, because the cold shower is going to get you present anyway, like we just discussed. Even if you don't want to be present, you have no choice, because it's just so cold. Your body goes into that mode where it's like, and you don't have to do that physically, but you're like, that's what's going on the inside. But your breath is going to bring you present. But yes, using it intentionally. Right now, I'm intentionally using it for healing on myself. Deep shadow work, trauma work, deep programs that are just repeating themselves over and over again. limiting beliefs, with scarcity. I mean, I am using this simple practice in my shower and in my bathroom to really reprogram myself in a deep way. So having those intentions is very powerful. Yes.
That's so amazing that you just mentioned working on your traumas and belief work, because what I've heard from one of the Polish guys I listen to on YouTube, he said something that when you are putting in yourself in the situation when you are in this fight or flight almost mode because you are in this cold shower or cold water, and then you are instinctual in a way. So you reach the level of the subconscious mind once you're there, because this is where our programs are, this is where our emotions are stored, and automatic things are coded in our mind, right, the subconscious level. So if you can be in this state, and then in this state of being so present and so cold, you can really reprogram your perspective and your mindset, because you are reaching the depth of the subconscious mind that you need to shift something, right? Because only subconscious programming will actually change something in your life. Consciously, you can have an understanding about something, but if you don't reprogram it in the subconscious, it's not really going to be a change in your life. And I work with belief change methods as well. The one called Psych K, it goes directly into subconscious mind, and also the completion process other method, the shadow work that I use, also goes into the subconscious mind. And I feel like I've had clients that, okay, consciously I want to change this, but come on, the subconscious says something completely different. So you need to reach this level of your mind. And so I think that cold shower, cold therapy gets you there, right? And gets you there quite quickly, frankly, because within seconds you're like, oh, okay, I'm there. Right?
Yes, yes, exactly. Exactly, on a subconscious level. And it's part of that analogy that I used with the iPhone, powering it off so that it's just you and you're going deep into your psyche, deep into your subconscious, deep into the root of things. And then you could reframe things, you could just acknowledge the emotion, you could just release it, and you're so cold. And by the way, I forgot to mention this. Many people shiver. I don't shiver anymore. Just because I've been doing this practice for so long. I actually miss it because there's something so powerful about shaking and about shivering. And we know, there's some science out there about animals that after they've had like a life-threatening attack, they shake, to kind of like shake it off, and it resets their nervous system. And then so they're able to just kind of keep going and living, and they're perfectly fine, and they're not like necessarily trauma. The deer that almost got eaten is not traumatized because they were able to shake it off. And so, yeah, on a subconscious level, when you're in there, you're breathing. And remember, we could move a lot of emotions with our breath, especially when we're breathing through our mouth. Breathing through your nose is great because it can help you stay calm, but breathing through your mouth, you're moving a lot of emotions on a subconscious level. And then when you start to shiver, allow those shivers to happen, because you're also releasing, let me shiver in the camera. So you're releasing a lot of stagnant energy that's coming out of your hands when you're doing that shivering from the ice. So it forces you into your deepest, darkest stuff, if you're willing to go there. And of course, your first couple times, you don't have to do the shadow work or go back to all your childhood memories. It could just be as simple as just getting used to the practice and doing it for physical health. But eventually, for someone who wants to take this deep, or maybe for you, maybe this will inspire you because it could do so much more for us spiritually and mentally than I think it's even promoted for. Again, I think it's a lot of people are like, oh, losing weight and looking great and looking young and having healthy hair and healthy skin. And it's like, yes, all of that stuff is true. And then also boosting immune system, so some people do it for that because they're like, I don't want to get sick. I just want to have a perfect immune system. But again, subconscious level, spiritual growth, going deep, the shadow work. And this is stuff that people can do on their own. And yeah, they could have a cold therapy guide like me, or they can go to a Wim Hof workshop and get guidance from like a certified Wim Hof instructor. But if they want to go like deep, this is something that they could have access to anytime, all of the time, as long as they have a shower available. Even during summertime, it could be tough, but because some people's shower doesn't get cold enough, but you can make it work. So it's so powerful. But yeah, the shaking, moving emotions, it all happens on that subconscious level. And I'll just say one more point too. just the sheer practice, even if you're not focused in, going deep and shadow work and all that, just if you're just doing 20 seconds, 15 seconds, 30 seconds in the morning when, after your hot shower, just the sheer fact of you doing that, and you're probably not going to go deep within 20 seconds of cold water at that time, but you're already reprogramming yourself to do something that's uncomfortable. You're reprogramming your mind like, okay, if something is uncomfortable, I don't have to run away from it. I could just go through it and breathe. I can just move through it. I can just change my relationship with uncomfortability. I could just change my relationship with fear. It doesn't mean that I don't have to be fearful. I could just change my relationship and then just allow the fear to be there and just know that I'm moving through it and that it'll be over soon. You just start to change your subconscious beliefs just by doing 20 seconds, just by doing something that's uncomfortable every single day. I mean, we've had people who come back, this is when I was doing the live masterclass on Clubhouse. And, a lot of times we would talk about testimonials and things like that. And people were coming up with all these amazing things like, I raised my credit score and I bought a house. And we're like, and of course, these are like the indirect effects of a strong morning practice or of a cold shower practice. And of course, those people saw benefits on a physical level, on a mental level. But it just got so funny because it's like, yes, this impacts everything in your life. For someone who was really struggling with handling their financial matters and even caring about their credit score, it's like the cold shower practice got them present. It melted all the fluff away, all the chaos, and it got them centered to where they were focused on them. And then eventually they were able to take on their responsibilities in a different way and change things that they wanted to change. And so we started to get all kinds of testimonies like that. And it was just, or some people were like, I have a better relationship with my partner or with my family because they took care of themselves in a better way and in a different way. And of course, they started to change some of those subconscious beliefs that assisted with that as well. So it's so amazing. I'm
That's
like
great.
obsessed.
I can really feel it, and that's why I really wanted to talk to specifically you about this stuff, because I can feel your
Yeah.
passion. And even when I see you on Instagram and all these posts, I'm like, oh my god, this girl loves it. I really need to talk to her because I'm really not there yet, you know. But yeah, I really can feel your passion, and this is all great that you shared. And I truly believe that it's true because I know what my way of work, how one session sometimes can shift everything, and it's the same thing. You're just going into the subconscious and changing your mindset, right? So one little shift in your mindset can change everything in your life, really, because you are maybe feeling more empowered, and then you can create all these changes in your life that then will result in the future with amazing things, right, coming up to your
Yeah.
life. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. That's amazing. And also I have one technical question. So actually two of them. One is that, so you said that the cold, you don't have to go deeply into the coldest water ever, but would it be actually better, or does it change anything when the water is colder, or does it need to be just cold, or is it, does it have more benefits the colder it gets, or not really?
Yes, it does. That's a great question, by the way, and it all depends on someone's intention. So it kind of goes back to like, okay, what is this person working on, or what are you working on? For boosting immune system, and just like your overall health, the colder the better. Also for reducing inflammation, the colder the better, because that cold water, like getting into an ice tub or like a really freezing ocean, that's going to attack the inflammation and really shrink it down, because we know that excess inflammation in most cases can cause a lot of other serious illnesses and conditions. And for me, I had a lot of inflammation in my brain, and I didn't know. And we know that ADHD and depression are linked to inflammation in the brain. Also, other cognitive challenges are linked to inflammation in the brain. Now, you don't have to get your head wet, but if you're focused on some of those benefits of improving your cognitive abilities and your mood and just, releasing depression, anxiety, those kinds of things. And then also we could have inflammation in our gut, in our joints, in our tissue, like all over our body, right? Inflammation can show up. I also was experiencing digestive issues, so I had some inflammation going on in like my organs that I didn't know about. But the colder the better, so the water can really tackle that inflammation. Also boosting your immune system, because it really, there's something that happens. I won't go too technical, but there's something that happens with you actually produce more white blood cells, and there's some inflammatory markers that are set off as well when you get into the cold water. So the colder the better, because it really just gives you like that full reset. But again, for someone who's just starting off, it's more important for them to just take baby steps and make this a sustainable practice. And after you make it through the 10 days, someone can even go back to just doing it 3 days. 3 days is all you need, 3 days a week, like a 2-minute cold shower, at least 3 times a week, is what someone will need to give their immune system a boost on a weekly basis. So just 3 times. So you don't have to do it all 7 days out of that week. But I think it's more important for someone to do this as a sustainable practice. And eventually, the practice is just going to gradually move that person in. Like I said, someone's just like, it's the craziest thing, because people end up craving the cold shower. So if they're doing it consistently, the chances are they're going to want that colder water. Like you're intuitively, I'm just going to say it, intuitively your body's going to be like, you know what, I want to go really, really cold today. And you're just going to find your hand going all the way over, or you'll find yourself, at a Wim Hof workshop or jumping into the cold river, because you just want, your body is craving that full reset and that energetic reset. And so, yeah, the colder, and then also for energy work and for deepening your spiritual practice, I do believe that the colder the water, the better. Now, I'm just going to give out some disclaimers. I won't go too deep into this, but I think it's just important to mention, so that way people, when they're gathering information after hearing this conversation, they kind of just have some pointers. Cold water is great, but for, in Ayurveda, we have the different doshas. So I'm a Vata dosha, I'm a Vata Pitta, and Vata is the one dosha that can be aggravated by the cold. And so for that person, maybe not going all the way cold right away, or maybe just doing super cold 3 times a week and then semi-cold the other times of the week might be more of a balance for that person who's a Vata dosha, or maybe drinking some hot water after their cold shower can kind of balance it out. Now, the cold water is still going to be beneficial for someone who's a Vata dosha like myself, but we wouldn't want that person to get out of balance because they're going too cold too quickly. So that's just a quick little disclaimer. But in the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, if you could breathe through it, and you really learn how to breathe, and that's where the secret sauce is. So doing any kind of breath work before your cold bath or cold shower is really going to help you. It could be as simple as just doing box breathing, or just 6 deep breaths like I did before. The Wim Hof breathing method is really going to take you to the next level. People find out that they could handle like a 30-degree Fahrenheit ice bath, which is really cold for an ice bath. Typically some ice baths are like 40 degrees, 42 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's cold too. That's cold enough. But some people find that they can even go colder when they do a lot of preparation with the Wim Hof breathing method, because that has its own set of benefits. And I know we don't even have time to go into it, but I'll just plant the seed so someone can definitely, check it out on their own, and go to Wim Hof's YouTube page or his Instagram page. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that. It really opens my mind up even more. And I'm probably Vata as well. Maybe that's why it's, that not that easy for me to be in this cold. But I had another technical question. Actually, now I have two in mind. The more you speak, the more questions I have. So one is, about the head, because I saw that people who are doing this therapy, sometimes even when we did it in the lake, we had even our palms up as well, because for the palms it was very extreme, and we just we didn't feel comfortable to just go all in at first, because it was, for me, it was like the first time, or not the first, but it was one of the first times I've done it. And so the palms were kind of really intense. And so about the head and the palms, like, how do you discern? And also, if putting your head in the cold water, it gives you some additional benefits, or it's not even necessary because your body is still going to be in the state, or how does it work?
Great questions. So I'll start off by saying that there is a risk for some people. Some people are really sensitive with their head. And then also from a chakra standpoint, you may not want to go completely under, depending on your crown chakra, like what you have going on there. And for me, by the way, I don't put my hands in the cold water all the time because of my hand chakras, and because I do healing and things like that and Reiki work. I just don't want to overstimulate it, and I need to. And plus, there's no body fat in my hands, so I'm very sensitive with my hands. So you can have your hands out, totally fine. Some people do well with their hands in. Some people want to stick their hands out. If you do some kind of healing work, or you're into the hand chakras, try keeping them out until you get more familiar with the practice. There's your head. Some people are sensitive, and there is a risk of people passing out, but that's for people who are really, really sensitive. And if someone's really, really sensitive to cold water on the head, they might have had an experience some point in their life. Maybe if you were like a kid and you went into a cold pool and you got lightheaded because the water was too cold, that's a sign that you might be that person that you should just not get your head wet. Now, for me personally, I don't know if I found any. I don't know if I've read this anywhere. I've read all of Wim Hof books, and I can't remember if I saw this somewhere. But I wholeheartedly believe that for me, getting my head wet in the cold water is an absolute just. It's so amazing. It's even more powerful than getting my body into the ice. And so when I dunk my head, because also I'm someone who all of my life I've been dealing with depression and anxiety and ADHD, and there's inflammation in the brain. I'm not so much anymore, but I still like to kind of routinely dunk my head in, because it just gives me that full reset, and I could just feel like all the amazing things that are happening. I just don't even have a good description, because I just think about how good it feels. But yeah, so for me, I love getting my head wet. So it's person basis. Just know you might be that person that might be a little sensitive to getting your head wet. So, and also, if you are dealing with depression, anxiety, you don't have to get your head wet in order to experience the benefits of getting the dopamine boost, and reducing the inflammation, and reducing the anxiety. You could just get that just by doing, from the neck down. And yeah, I think you had one more question somewhere in there. Did I answer it?
Yes,
The
I
hand.
do, but I just want to say that I have never heard anyone being so excited about thinking about their head being wet in cold water. Oh my
Yeah.
god, girl, you're just amazing. You're like, "Oh my god, I'm thinking about my head getting wet
I know. I
inside."
got all
I'm
wrapped
thinking,
up in like,
"No."
I'm visualizing
I
myself
know.
getting my head wet in cold water.
It is so cute. It is just so cute. I just really want to honor you for that, because like I've never heard anyone being so passionate about it and being so excited about getting your head
Yeah.
completely cold. It's like so
And this is
opposite to
after
me.
doing
I'm
it
like,
for a full
wow.
year. I'm still, yeah. After doing it for a full year, I'm still like so excited.
That's
Yeah, it's
amazing.
amazing.
That's amazing. But I guess if you really try some methods and it really works for you and you really see the benefits, then you're excited to do this. And I found the same with shadow work that I do, with coming into the childhood trauma and releasing it there. And although it's freaking unpleasant to do this, because obviously you need to feel like shit for some time, you need to go through this sadness or through this powerlessness or anger or whatever else there is. And it's so unpleasant. But now I'm so excited when the trigger comes, because I know how amazing I will feel after I go through the whole process and release it all. So I guess it's a similar thing for you. It's like, yeah, it might be not the most pleasant thing in the world for my body, but I know what it's gonna bring for me. So now the association, rather than it's gonna be cold, it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna feel great. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Yeah, one more technical question I had is, when you have a shower, because like if I imagine myself under the shower, I imagine that I would have to have a shower above me and pretty much like flush my whole body at once. Because if I imagine myself just taking the shower head and like doing, all over my body, it
With the
wouldn't, I just
handheld.
probably couldn't handle it. I probably just couldn't handle it. I
Yeah.
probably would not focus on like breathing. So do you think it's better if the shower head is like above us and we just step under it, or we just like, open it up? Because I could imagine that also the benefits might be different if you do the whole body at once versus like different parts of the body, right?
Yes, yes. So in the shower, you can do it several ways. For someone who's just getting started, I would recommend having the shower above you as opposed to like the handheld, because you want to be able to surrender. You want to be able to calm down, and you really just want to focus on your breathing. You don't want to have to worry about moving your arm around and like getting different parts of your body with the handheld. So if you could stick it in like the holder thing and just have it coming at you or from above you, so that way your hands are free. You're really working on your posture. You're dropping just like in yoga, you drop your shoulders back and down. You really relax everything and you're just breathing. That's all you're doing. That's the best way. So having it hands free is best. Also, when you're transitioning, if you do your hot shower first, turn the cold, or after you soap up and do everything you got to do, when you turn the water to cold, step out of the shower, so that way you're not surprised yet. You're not shocked too quickly. You can you turn the water to cold. It might take a second from the water to actually just from warm to cold, but you're kind of stepped. Most people have room where they can kind of step back and the water's just hitting the floor. Take a couple breaths, reset yourself, do those 6 deep breaths again. I like to tell people, put their hand on their belly button, breathe in. On your inhale, your whole belly should expand as far as possible. That's how you know you're breathing into the depths of your lungs. You're really not breathing into your belly. You're just breathing into the depths of your lungs. It's pushing all your organs down and out. So having your hand there, you'll be able to watch it. You'll be able to feel your stomach go out with the inhale, and then you could use your hand to gently push your stomach back in to make sure you're exhaling all of the air. You could do 6 of those breaths after your hot shower. You're still in the shower. You're not underneath the water yet, the cold water. You turn the knob. At this point, you turn the knob to cold. You're just resetting yourself to and just to breathe. So that's going to reduce any kind of stress that you have about being uncomfortable, any last second, thoughts or regrets about doing this. It's just going to let it melt away. Then you can get into the cold water and you step forward. So put your feet under first, and then you gradually move up. You gradually move forward and forward. So allow the water to hit your feet, then your legs, your thighs, then your stomach. Turn around, get your backside. Most people like to do their chest last. I'm crazy. I run in there. I put my chest forward. I let it hit my chest first. And I want that shot. But don't do that. Start with your feet. Gradually move up. And then even in the shower, you're gonna have to. We call it the rotisserie chicken. You're gonna have to like turn around and get your back, and then turn around and get your front. And each time you turn around, it's almost like a new shock again in the beginning, when you're in the beginning stages, like the first couple weeks. But you're gonna get so comfortable with it. Now, I will mention that doing a cold bath is actually easier because the water's not like spraying at you. With the shower, it's like spraying in all these different little streams, and depending on how what your shower pressure is, it can kind of feel a little like too much, like too aggressive. So just filling up your bathtub, just like you would take a warm bath, you might want to fill up your bathtub with just cold water. You don't have to do ice if you're new to this practice, just cold water. And that way you could just sit down in the tub in the cold water and just relax that way. I think that's easier for people. I wish I would have tried it that way, because again, my shower pressure was aggressive and hard, and I'm trying to turn and breathing and doing all that stuff. So I think the cold bath might be easier for some people to start with. And then you're sitting down too, so you're not really using your legs. You're using less energy. You're using less energy, so you could just breathe and really be present and stay in there for 30 seconds. And then when you're done, you can like stand up in a powerful way, get out of the bathtub and just do some breaths, and then you can go and dry off, of course, and go on with throughout your day that way. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yes, it is. It really is. And I also found that if I tried to take a cold shower, because, my friends were all about it, I'm like, okay, I'm going to try it. But it was way harder for me than actually getting into the lake, for example, because I had to just more energy consuming, as you said. So I totally resonate with what you just said. And so when did you start your journey with cold therapy, and how did you gradually, like, increase the time, and how long can you sit there, for example, in the cold bath right now?
Great question. So actually, I just had my 1 year anniversary for my cold shower practice a couple weeks ago.
Yay!
So yeah, and I did. I mean, yeah, I did cold showers all year long. I did so many ice baths because that also became a part of my routine. But yeah, I would say in 2021, mid January is when I started my cold shower practice, and it was intuitive. I mean, like I kind of alluded to earlier, I was so stressed out, and that's because my life was not in alignment. Like my job at the time and how I was doing things just wasn't in alignment, which can create some disconnection, right? You just don't know what's going on. You're like, why am I so stressed out? And so I turned to this practice like desperately, like just because I was so stressed out. I couldn't do my meditation practice. I couldn't even do what I love, which is yoga. I couldn't do those things. I was doing yoga and I felt like I was still having so much anxious thoughts. So the cold shower was the one thing to kind of snap me, back in place, back together. And I kept it going. And after a few days of doing my cold shower practice on my own, within like 3 days, I realized a difference in my stress level and just reduced anxiety. I was sleeping better. Um, and so I started the whole club on Clubhouse. If anyone's familiar with the app, it was really popular last year. It's still going this year, but it's basically community. It's an audio chat app. So I started a whole club just on cold showers, and I hosted the club every single day. And so eventually we built up to like an audience of 60 people speaking and sharing and learning, and me guiding the room. We had Wim Hof instructors come into the room and also give their expertise as well. And so that played out all year long, but it started with just me doing a cold shower and being like, oh my God, like I want to have other people doing this with me. I had to tell people like how this is helping me. And I didn't know enough about it to like really teach it at that point. Now I do, of course, but it was more of like a support group. And that's what I called the club or the rooms at that time, the chat rooms. It was like cold shower support group, and we just support each other. And then eventually, I started hosting it more from like an expert level because it was like such a hardcore part of my practice. And I would say there's a couple of major turning points in my cold shower practice. Is the first one was, yes, within the first couple of days of doing it, I dramatically and I had chronic stress. I mean, there's different types of anxiety, but I mean chronic stress and anxiety to where like I wouldn't be able to eat or think or work or even talk. Like I would try to talk to someone and I was stuttering because I was so stressed out. But the cold showers helped me move through all of that. So that was the first big milestone within my practice. The second big milestone that happened within my practice is within the first 2.5 months, I was able to finally quit coffee completely. I had tried quitting coffee so many times. Again, it was my way of self-medicating for my depression. And I had been addicted to coffee since I was 16 because they were selling Starbucks at my high school, unfortunately. And I got hooked. And so from 16 to, I was 34 last year. I was, so hooked to caffeine. It was messing up my stomach and my health and everything. It was just in my sleep. It was just it was like the addiction of my life I couldn't get rid of. So I was able to replace my coffee habit with the cold showers. And also, along with the coffee, this is part of the second biggest milestone in my cold shower practice was I quit coffee and alcohol at the same time because they were kind of like I was using both of them to cope with the depression and the anxiety, right? The coffee to self-medicate for the depression and the wine at nighttime at dinner to self-medicate for the anxiety. And so when I got rid of one, I was able to get rid of the other. And there was a short period of time within my first couple months where I was taking 2 cold showers a day because I was replacing those habits. And if anyone has read anything about the science behind habits, is when you get rid of a habit that's no longer serving you, you have to replace it with something that is serving you.
Yep.
Replace it at the same time or the same trigger that you would typically have. So my trigger was, okay, if I'm done with work at night and I'm unwinding down, that would be my trigger to grab the glass of wine. Well, I'm going to replace that with a cold shower at nighttime. So that was a second big milestone, my cold shower practice. And then I would say the third thing is when I started to do more ice baths, I discovered how powerful it is. And I don't think there's enough people doing it. I mean, maybe I got to reach out to some more people and see. But I discovered how powerful this practice is for trauma work and for inner child work and the wounded child and the shadow work and the reprogramming. And yes, Wim Hof does talk about it briefly, but like, there could be a process for this to be another healing modality that's just as popular as plant medicine, or that could be just as popular as some of the other tools that we use to heal from trauma in childhood wounds. So yeah, that was the third thing. Those are the three things that have been really powerful in my journey. And then I've just kept it going. And now it's about, I experiment a lot. I still do it for myself, but I'm also like pushing the boundaries, or I'm experimenting with different combinations of things, like meditating in the ice bath, or just working with different ways to make this a deep spiritual practice as well. So
Beautiful. That's so great. Thank you for sharing. And so, how long is your ice bath now, or a cold shower usually?
yeah, well, I'm reluctant to say because again, I'm like crazy. I'll tell everyone, and I don't want to be liable for anything, so I'll just say 2 minutes is ideal. You don't want to stay in the ice bath too long. Um, and if you do stay in the ice bath longer, please train for it. Make sure you're getting the right guidance. Make sure you're doing the research. Make sure you're setting a timer. I have been, I will tell you my longest ice bath. I don't do this regularly. Um, but I will tell you my longest ice bath was 20 minutes, and it was on accident because I forgot to set my timer, and I was meditating. I was actually on Instagram Live too, so I was more focused about the comments coming in, and I was like talking to people as I was like in there, and I wanted people to kind of see me doing it so they could see I'm not like panicking, and I'm like just relaxing and meditating. And next thing I know, it's like I looked at the Instagram live and it was like 20 minutes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been in here so long. And I was so calm throughout the whole thing. And so I think that was my longest. And again, I wasn't trying to go that long. And I don't recommend it. I know Joe Rogan is really popular for posting his 20-minute ice bath video. Although, my personal opinion, I just feel like he wasn't really utilizing his breath as well. And so when people see other people do it, just remember you got to really utilize your breath as a tool. And you don't need to stay in there 20 minutes. You don't even need to stay in there 10 minutes because I'm just going to say, you might see people doing this on social media because I think it is getting more and more popular. But for ideal time, 2 minutes is great. If you want to push your boundaries a little bit and you feel comfortable doing it and you have guidance, then sure, go to like 4 minutes or 5 minutes. But beyond that, you don't need to push it. Just keep it super simple. And again, if you're a Vata like myself, you don't want to get yourself imbalanced and cause some imbalance there. And then I will say this is a good example of too much of anything is not good. So I do know someone who they had one of those professional ice baths at their house, and they were doing it like every single day for long periods of time. And because it's such a dopamine boost, they got addicted to the ice bath. And then when the ice bath broke, they actually had an unfortunate situation of just feeling depressed. Like they did like a deep dive into depression because obviously we don't want to stimulate our dopamine too much too fast all of the time. But if you're just doing
Yeah,
this practice for like a minute, 2 minutes in the morning, no, you're not going to overdose on the
that should be
cold, right?
fine.
It's the people who are, yeah, it's the people who are like overdoing it. So yeah.
Yep, I completely resonate with what you just said, because I remember when I was, for example, fasting. I'm also a person of extremes, so I was like, okay, tomorrow I'm gonna stop drinking and eating. And some people are preparing for this for months, and I don't recommend to do it like I did. But I know that I'm just this kind of person that like, okay, let's just go for it. So I know what you mean by like, oh, I did this, but please do not do this. Like, do not be me. Don't be like me. Be like someone who actually prepares and knows more, because yeah, I know that it can be more harmful for someone if someone doesn't know what they are doing, because I read a lot, I studied a lot, I knew, what's going to happen with my body, so I understand why you're sharing it. And I think it's so crucial and important to say this, because yeah, we don't want to do any harm, we just want to feel more and more amazing. So the last little question: where people can find you and see all these beautiful lives of you sitting in cold bath?
Yeah, thank you. So I'm on Instagram. I have a new Instagram account, and I've been through so many. But my newest one is Sacred Soul, and there's a couple of underscores. So Sacred, two underscores, Soul, and then four underscores scores after that. Sacred Soul. Yeah.
Perfect. Sacred Soul. Thank you so much, Vanessa, for being with us today. It was so amazing to talk
Thank
to you.
you.
I'm so inspired to try for 10 days. Maybe I can handle 10 days and like 15 seconds. Maybe, yeah, I can handle this. I'm going to keep you updated of how I went with this. I'm probably going to do it in February, because February is my motivation month. I'm going to Madeira. I'm going to be in completely different climate and different people, and I'm going to be by myself. So I'm going to have a lot of time to focus on my own healing journey. So I'm going to try it for 10 days and tell you how I went. And for now, I'm just sending you so much gratitude for sharing your beautiful wisdom and experience. And I really intend for this conversation to help a lot of people and really get them ready for the beautiful journey with cold therapy. So thank you so much.
Thank you. What a fun conversation today. Loved it. Thank you so much for having me.
Beautiful. Thank you, beautiful souls, for being with us today. I feel super inspired by Vanessa to try the cold shower therapy, and I hope that you feel inspired as well. And stay tuned for the next episodes, and wish you a lot of luck with trying it out, because I'm certainly gonna do this.